thank you so much for being here. I know we had a tiny bit of back and forth, but totally normal and also very understandable because you were in the midst of having a show and doing an artist talk and all the fun stuff that goes along with that. So, congratulations. How was it?
Thank you. It was awesome. It was it's a novel experience for me. This is like my first show kind of outside of art school. Um so it was good. There's like things I would change, but like I don't know. There was a great turnout. I was happy.
And I was trying to, do the very preliminary research, and you aren't involved, like you don't own Crawlspace, right? You're just like kind
No.
of affiliated.
Yeah. The art community is pretty small. So like everyone kind of knows everyone, and I've worked with the like people that run crawl space, but no, they also have studios there. Um but no, I'm not like affiliated. I just had a show.
Okay, but you graduate with the owners?
uh I graduated a couple years before them, so I was like 2023, and then I think they were maybe like 2024, kind of in the years following.
It's interesting when I talk to artists from Calgary, and all of them are very humble and modest in describing the art scene in Calgary, and they all say it's kind of a tight knit but smaller scene. But for me, even being like so close, just in the next city over, it seems to me that the art scene out there is so much more advanced than it is even here in Edmonton. And I see a lot of, people here, like, I don't want to get in trouble with logos. We all support each other, but it seems like Calgary is on another level of everyone supporting everyone. Is that real, or is that just how it looks to me?
I would say both. It's like it's real. I think the support is like real. I think like with any crowd, there's like interpersonal drama that happens also because it's so small. But I would say for the most part, like people are supportive. And people want to like show up to each other's shit. And it's also like if I want everyone in the world to come to my show, then I better be going to everyone else's show too, you know?
That I subscribe, like I word for word said that, and I'm always trying to tell people, and especially the young people here, like if you have an interest in showing work, like no matter really what lane you're in, like if you're in a band, if you have a skate video, if you're an artist, you expect people to come to yours, you have to reciprocate that. It's like kind of an unwritten thing. It's like, and you can't, it's also like kind of my rule that you have to do that, but you also can't put too much emotion into it when people don't reciprocate that. Like you just need to worry about you and make sure you're supporting and going to things if you want people to come to yours. But then also, if you notice people aren't at yours, you can't like get in your feelings about it, which is
Yeah.
a delicate balance for sure.
Well, yeah, it's like it's at the end of the day, like it's not personal. There have been like dope shows that I want to go to and just like can't make it work, or you're busy, or it's like, oh well, maybe I'm tired. But like, yeah, it's not personal if people don't show up, you know?
I always say that again, like maybe I'm a little biased, but I feel the art scene in, I'll say Alberta just to combine the two, but
Yeah.
it's like the the ideal size because there's enough happening, but there isn't too much happening. Like I feel even Montreal, Toronto, New York, Berlin, like all this stuff, there would be any given night, too many things to go to, and then you have to like decide what you go to, and some things you're seeing at some friends stuff and not at others. I feel here there isn't like an overwhelming amount of stuff, so most people can like get, there's one show on a Friday, one on a Saturday,
Yeah,
if we're lucky. So it's easier to show up at things and
true.
support.
In the galleries and like artist run centers in Calgary, for some reason, like they all follow a similar schedule. So it does actually happen where there are multiple openings on one night. Like, and it's less with like the DIY stuff, but it's like I don't know, like the bigger galleries and the artist run centers. Like for some reason, I feel like they always fall on the same weekend. But also, Calgary's not that big, so like you can bike between them, like a little crawl.
That sort of renders what I said obsolete, but also it's positive. Like I guess Edmonton only has, if they have one thing, that's the only thing, and I guess we're lucky and cursed by that. But I guess it's good that you guys have multiple, but it's also like you would think that the galleries would notice that. Like it would happen a couple times by accident, and they might see that it's happening and then try to either work together or at least like schedule things spread apart to not like spread the scene so thin.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel like they're all. I mean, in my experience, like they all seem pretty well attended. And in the summer, it's kind of like Calgary's not that big. You can bike between all of them, or like walk or drive a little bit, whatever. So like you can go to multiple, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, that I guess by us only having these single shows, we don't have the opportunity to do a little like kind of pub crawl between
Yeah.
like all the meet a bunch of different type of people and absorb different art in one night. We don't have that opportunity really.
Hmm. Are there artist run centers in Edmonton?
Uh
I don't even know what they would be.
this is the horrible. I should know this, and as someone who pays attention to this stuff, but I would say no. I don't think so. There might be a couple that I'm not as privy to, but definitely like when I talk to people from Calgary and hear what's going on, that's part of it. It just seems like you guys are so much further ahead in that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is that like new? I guess you're like somewhat newer to the scene, but is that something that's been around for a while, or is the Calgary gonna prioritizing the artist run stuff like recently?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like it's definitely picked up in the past few years. My frame of reference is bad because I also like started art school like less than 10 years ago. Well, graduated like less than 5 years ago, so it's like I'm new to it. To me, I feel like we're on the brink of something awesome. And even just like crawl space getting established, like that's like it's been I feel like it for a long time like is not has not been feasible for people to do kind of like the DIY spaces or like the less institutionalized spaces. So to see that kind of like happening, I feel like is pretty sweet.
If you had a guess, or I mean, maybe and it's less of a guess, but is there like a harmonious relationship between these like DIY gallery? Like when there's openings at these smaller galleries, do people, the staff and people like from the bigger galleries, are they there mingling, or is there kind of a like still a stigma between the two?
I would say there's a blend for sure. Like I don't think it's I don't know if, yeah, I would say that like everyone goes to everything and that like the DIY spaces seem supported by the like institutionalized spaces. It doesn't, it's not like, I don't feel like there's any sort of like competitiveness to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that kind of here as well. There are like less galleries, and we do have a couple like DIYs that have no studios attached. They're just like for shows, but they do get people from the bigger spaces. The younger people that work in bigger spaces usually try to attend stuff there, and I've talk to them so I know firsthand, but I also kind of get the vibe that they're like almost jealous in a way, like they're stuck in like on the corporate side of things, and they're envious of kind of the freedom and the like the cool factor of all these younger DIY things.
They can do it too, man.
I know. I say that too. It's you. This could be not copied, but you could emulate. You could be inspired by this. You could like take parts of this and put it in a big gallery and like show something like this to a bigger, like more paying audience. But it's almost like they choose not to.
Right. I also feel like gallery spaces like big like the AGA in Edmonton, like they're programmed years in advance. Like they're probably programmed through to like 2029 right now. And so it's like you can't react to like what's happening because like your schedule is decided has been decided for years.
That's like so true. I was actually talking, a friend of mine is a curator at the AGA, and they were talking about a show that they're starting planning for the summer of 2030.
No way.
Which like that just sounds too far in the future. Like just saying 2030.
Yeah. We'll never get there.
Yeah,
That's a
definitely
hundred years
not.
away.
But like you're absolutely right, and it's funny. I never thought about it exactly like that. There's no room to like react to current stuff and
Mhm.
have like if an artist emerges and they're creating amazing stuff, you can't help them. Like you can't show their stuff for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of like I'm kind of thinking about the Esker Foundation in Calgary and the AGA. Like I feel like they have like project spaces, which are like the small offshoot galleries that are, and that's maybe where like the programming is less uh like decide like planned. So that's where, but it's like I would be so surprised if like a big show were to pop up of something that's like current. That sounds so bad.
No, no, I know what you mean. And I also I take issue, and I know like I have friends that work there. I know people from there listening, so I'm gonna tiptoe around what I say.
Yeah.
But I know they're set in their ways about certain type of art being shown. Like I know the AGA, like it's probably not a secret, so it's fine to say they are almost like they're not fully against it, but they're less prone to show photo shows. And I know like younger artists, they're kind of not prone. Like no matter who the artist is, whatever they're doing is like their age
Yeah.
is kind of a barrier.
Have you seen the John Will show at the AGA? It's up right now.
Is that the one with all the like all the signage?
Yeah, yeah, like it's called, what is it called? Born in the UFO? Something about
Yeah,
UFOs.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I've actually seen it twice, and I mean that's not. I am a huge fan of it, but I've just been there twice when
Right.
it's been up. But yeah, that one, I love that show, and I really like seeing people seeing that show. Like being in the room and then seeing someone walk into the space with all the, I guess it's not signage, but you know what I mean? All
Yeah, yeah.
the,
Like the text-based work.
yeah, yeah, seeing people react to that, like walk in and see so many, almost like an overwhelming amount of those things. It's
Yeah,
very, very cool. And from what I've gathered, that's a huge hit. Like people love that one. I've seen a lot of people like on my stories posting photos of it, and these are people who I didn't even know went to galleries. Like people I've never seen post art, like all of a sudden posted like 20 stories of that show.
yeah. I might do like a day trip to Edmonton to go see it because it comes down next weekend, I think. And John Will just passed away. Like he passed away a couple weeks ago, really recently.
Oh, I didn't know that. Rest in peace. That's, I mean, horrible to take any positive off an artist passing, but that's very cool that we get that show like the
Totally.
last time while he's or
Yeah,
was alive. Rest in peace.
yeah. Super cool.
So what I don't know enough about Calgary actually, and I'm gonna seem like such a novice, but what's the biggest like kind of corporate gallery you guys have? Like, what's the equivalent to the AGA?
Huh. I mean, honestly, the AGA is awesome, and there's not really an equivalent. There's like Contemporary Calgary, which is in the old Science Center, um, which is like pretty cool, and the Esker Foundation, which is like in Inglewood. It's on the top floor, and that one's free, always free, and they have really good shows there.
I mean, I know obviously not everything can be free. It's impossible. It's actually hard to make money when things aren't free, let alone when they are.
Yeah,
But I feel like the cost barrier to seeing art is like the biggest obstacle for a lot of
yes,
people. Like, I can think of people who would probably go to the gallery every weekend if it like it didn't, if they weren't living
yeah,
paycheck to paycheck. And I wish, I mean, most artists wish everyone had access to all art, but we don't have anything like that, with like nothing free, like standardly free. So that's one
yeah.
up on us.
It's such a barrier to accessing. Like I love art, and like it's my life, it's my like passion and my career and like what I studied. And even I will like be like, 15 bucks for a gallery, like that's too much. Like what if the show's ass? Like you also don't know what you're going to see. It's also like not the most thrilling experience. Like it's if it's not an opening, it's quiet. Like you kind of just walk around and look at shit. Like to me, that seems like it should be a free experience.
Yeah, I feel like maybe not the best take on all of it, but the way I feel is if you pay 15 and it's amazing, then you're like, oh, that was
That was worth the 15
so
bucks.
worth it. Like
Yeah,
the $15 isn't even a thought, like compared
yeah.
to what you just saw. But if it doesn't sit right with you, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that
It was like I just wasted
15.
my money.
Yeah, and that's a bad feeling. And I feel like a lot of that's the obstacle between I think of it the same as like parties or brands and stores have activations, and if they're free you might have a good time, and if it had cost money, maybe not. But because it's free, you kind of end up you have to sort of like it, the brand or like the store that put it on. The
Yeah,
gallery, same thing. Like if it costs money, it's all of a sudden gotta be a certain amount of like good. But if it's free, you can kind of assess it on
yeah, you're
that level.
totally like judging the show differently if I paid for it. Because the whole time I'm like trying to get my money's worth.
Did you like grow up being interested in art? Like what? really blanket question, but like, what made you want to be an artist?
I didn't really like always like I feel like kids like everyone wants to like paint and draw and like be creative. Um but I like all through high school, like my family is very academic. Like very intelligent. Like my dad's a professor, his dad was a professor, like all like university educated people. And so in high school, like my plan was to do pre-med, which is saying it now, I'm like, holy hell, like how did I ever think that was like an option? Um, and then I kind of like, I don't know, I graduated high school and I was just like, damn, like I don't really want to be in school forever. Like, and that's what you sign up for with some of these things. And it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars also. Um, and I guess I just kind of like decided, I was like, you know what, like art school it sounds like I could do that. Uh, and it's funny that like my choice to not go into something was because I didn't want to be in school forever. Because now that I've like done my degree, I'm like I'm gonna be in school forever. Like I'm a forever student.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking that as you were saying it, but I didn't want to poke the bear. But I guess you said it first, so if you don't mind me asking, what is your dad a professor of?
Geography at the University of Calgary.
Ah, cool. Yeah, my dad as well is an American literature
Oh no way.
professor.
Oh sweet.
Were your parents supportive? Like when you said you didn't want to go to med school and you were gonna be an artist, what did they think?
Uh, you know they are. I'm close with my parents, super close. They're so supportive. Like, and I feel so like privileged for that and so grateful because there's a lot of people whose parents would not react that way, and they were just like, look, like we think that post-secondary education is important and we want you to pursue something, but we don't necessarily have any stipulations about what that thing is. And that was incredible.
Yeah, I mean a huge. I assume like when you made the decision, just leading up to telling them must have been like pretty stressful.
I feel like I made the decision with them. It wasn't just like, I'm going to decide this in my head and then I'm going to like tell my parents. I was just like, like getting their advice, getting their opinions. And I think both of them were just like, look, like if this is what you want to do, like go for it, you know? Just like just see it through, was kind of the attitude. It was like if you do this, like school, I feel like I'm talking about money this whole time, but like school is not free. Like if you decide to pursue this, see it through and like put your all into it. And I do feel like that's what I did. And I feel like art school especially people have very mixed reviews about, but like I loved it. Like it was such a transformative experience for me, and I learned so much.
What was leading you in like to med school in the first place? Like what subjects were you excelling at in high school to lead you to that?
I mean, I was just like rock. Like I didn't really do anything in high school. I was just like going to school and then studying. Like I didn't really like do extracurriculars or sports or whatever. I was just like I liked to like read. I guess I don't know. I think I liked the sound of like being like I'm pursuing like the sciences or medicine or like this sounds legitimate and this sounds like I don't know, it sounds like prestigious. And so I think I liked the sound of it more than I actually was like necessarily interested in pursuing the field.
I fully I get what you mean. It sounds very professional. Like it's got that aura of like accomplishment behind it. I feel, especially in Alberta, though, I think getting an or becoming an artist is kind of gaining back its cachet. Like 10, 20 years ago, if adults at a dinner party, you'd probably want to say doctor, lawyer, dentist, that type of thing for that like type of accomplishment. But
Yeah,
now I feel a lot of people are, I mean, they've always been being artists, but now I feel that is gaining a bit more notoriety than it might have had like for that little blip in time like 5, 10, 15 years ago.
totally. And I feel like thinking about I feel like it was just like a narrow worldview. Maybe it's just like what are the jobs? Like lawyer, doctor, like teacher, and then you leave high school and like enter the workforce for real and you realize that like almost everyone works a job that you've never fucking heard of in your entire life. Um and also like I feel like something that's exciting to me about pursuing art is that it's not like a career that is established in the way that other ones are. Like there's not one way to pursue art or be an artist. Whereas like there are like specific and carved out routes to pursuing some of these other professions.
I was talking to my girlfriend just the other day and saying, like jobs are very weird in the sense that like you decide you want to be one thing and then you do that for 50 years. Like an artist, you can at least play around, like you can do different mediums, you can like there's
Yeah.
so much room within the confines. But being a doctor, you're like one type of doctor every day for 50 years.
Oh my god. Yeah, it sounds exhausting. I just started a new job like last in the past few weeks. And I've been talking to all my friends and just being like, dude, like I love starting a new job. Like that's actually one of my favorite things. It's like I want to start a new job and learn everything and then I'm bored because I'm done like learning and then I want a new job.
Yeah, that like really that's the only way to not the only way, but that's a good way to enjoy what you're doing for a
Yeah,
prolonged amount of time.
yeah. I feel like the variety is so important.
So what about like when you were younger, did you consume art? Like were you going to galleries or paying attention to other art like before
Hmm.
you decided to be an artist, or is the whole thing new for you?
I mean, not to the degree that I do now, obviously, but like, it's always something enjoyed, like looking at art and like consuming it, as you said. My dad is from the UK, so I feel like like I spent a fair amount of time like in Europe and in the UK as like a adolescent, like a young teenager, like when I'm like 12. And so I think that in those places, like art and history are so intertwined, like maybe in a way that's quite different from North America. So it was like learning about these places that you're seeing means learning about the art history of those places. And so I feel like maybe that's where it like started for me.
That's a amazing way to look at it, and very like blessed to be able to take in stuff over there. Like it took me until I was an adult to be able to get over there to
Yeah,
consume all of that.
yeah. And I feel like it's just like because the cities are so much older, just in general, like the the architecture there is like there's a type of art form in that too.
So when you first like when you started going to school, or even when you decided that was gonna be the path you took, was sculpture kind of your first intro, or did you learn through your years in school that was what you wanted to focus on?
I originally when you start, it's like an undeclared, like everyone does the same things, and then you have your electives to kind of like sample what like mediums and disciplines you like. So I intended to go into drawing just because that's like what I was like. I guess I just didn't really know anything else. Not that I really draw very much, but it was just like, yeah, sure, I'll go into drawing. And I had like a couple sculpture classes that were just like so awesome. Like the way the faculty in the sculpture department at AU Arts is like top tier, and just like there's a way of looking at and consuming. I love that you use that word, consuming artwork, that was like really like it was a perspective that I had to learn, and that was really exciting to me. And I feel like I was really pushing back on like declaring my major as sculpture for some reason. And then my friend that I was going to school with at the time, he was finally just like, dude, like you clearly want to do sculpture, like just do it. And so I changed, like I declared my major as sculpture, and just like it was best choice I ever made.
I always like hearing, like it's nice to know, gonna be aware of something and like go into it knowing like if you thought sculpture was gonna be your thing, it's nice to know that beforehand. But it's also really cool to kind of like find that out as you go and like fall
Mhm.
in love with something in real time.
Totally.
For your artist talk, I know we had talked about doing this before, so I was kind of like seeing through your media these things happening, and I always love asking people about public speaking and about artist talks. Like, how do you feel about if this is your first like significant show outside of the school? How did you personally feel about addressing a crowd and explaining the show to people?
You know, I love to talk. So, and I love, well, I don't love the sound of my own voice, but I'm like I love to talk. That's like what I want to do. Like the public speaking doesn't really bother me, I guess. I was super nervous leading up to the talk, like in the 10 minutes before, when people are like showing up and you're testing the laptop and just like whatever. And then as soon as I started, it was just like I just felt that I could take a breath. Um, and everyone's there to support. Like it wasn't a scenario where people are really there to challenge or scrutinize. Like people are there to learn or understand. So it was a really cool experience. Uh, I don't know. It's building the talk was difficult because I was kind of like, I'm so fascinated with my research, and that's why I make work about it. But I know that it's not as interesting to everyone else as it is to me. So it was the difficult thing about it, I feel like, was kind of figuring out what's a pace to move at, what information is important to give context to the work, and what is me just like going like down a rabbit hole of my special interest in like pylons, and how do I balance those things?
I always think like try to tell myself and tell other people about artist talks are like a unique thing because you're not, even though it might feel like this, you're not really trying to win over the crowd. You've almost already won them over because they're at your show.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're there to hear what you have to say. So I've had them and I've done them and I've seen them done. It's very stressful for the most part,
Yeah.
but there is that a little bit of alleviation when you think like these people aren't, it's not like an opposed, like a sports game where half the people are there for the other team
Yeah,
and you're
totally.
like trying to appease them. Like these people are already kind of fans of yours, or else they wouldn't be at your talk in the first place.
Yeah, I feel like going into it with the idea that I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything and I'm not trying to justify the things that I made. I'm just trying to explain like how I arrived at these objects as opposed to something else, you know?
Ken, I'm very curious, and I know you probably explained it, and it's boring, but can you like sum up why you are using these pylons? Because I also love pylons, but I've never thought about why or ever had to explain it to someone. So if you don't mind, like take as long or as short as possible. I'm very curious.
I don't mind this question. This is the best question ever. um okay. I think that I originally became interested in them because I see them as real life sculpture. You're not like the way that they exist, you're supposed to look at them and move around them. They're not supposed to be touched. Um, and that is the way that like fine art, like or art with a capital A sculpture is supposed, in quotation, supposed to be encountered. And I can't think of many other objects that have that real world relationship to sculpture. um and then like that's where the interest started, and thinking about how, I guess, like it spiraled into this interest about the way that they signify barriers without actually providing them. Like a pylon's pretty easy to displace or move or kick over. And so it's this idea that as a grouping they form a blockade that is very easy to disobey or to manipulate. Like you don't they try to command authority, but they don't in a lot of ways, and I think that's really interesting. And I think that kind of through, I guess, my research, which is a lot of walking around and taking photos of construction sites, I started to look at these traffic cones and like orange safety barriers specifically as like analogous to other systems of control in like the public realm. So just like this idea of arbitrary rules and regulations and how those like dictate the way we move through space, I guess. Um and thinking about how like systems of control are arbitrary at their core, like a pylon is, if that makes sense.
That like easily the best answer to any question I've ever had on here. That is such a like cool, concise explanation of like I'm never gonna not think about that now when
Oh
I'm
yeah.
looking at pylons.
Yeah,
They're kind of the unanimous symbol of don't touch. Like
totally.
when you see a pylon, it's like an unwritten thing. You don't cross what it's protecting.
Totally. And it like calls attention to itself and points away from itself at the same time, which I think is really interesting. Like it's like white and orange. It's like notice me, like I'm here for a reason, but it's not, it's about what it's protecting or what it's in front of or beside. It's never about the object itself.
Yeah, I've never thought, and now I'll never not think about how easy it would be to knock one over or step over one.
Yeah,
Yet the whole world sort of has decided to respect the
totally.
pylon.
Yeah, it's like a social contract.
That's incredible. Like absolutely very eye opening now. I might have to just steal bits of that when people ask me about my
Oh
pylon
yeah.
photos. I'm gonna say a friend of mine told me this, and now I've adapted it to all
Yeah.
my thinking. The issue I have with pylons, and tell me if you feel the same way.
Yeah,
Whenever I see a huge amount of them, I need to take a photo of that. But then every pile from now on that isn't as big as that one is not impressive. So it's like each time I see more, that's the bar. And the other day I saw the most I've ever seen, and now like I saw that, and the other day my girlfriend and I saw a huge amount of them that until I had seen that immense amount, this would have been the biggest amount I've seen. And
yeah.
I barely even wanted to take a photo because I was like, well, this doesn't hold a candle to the 300 we saw.
How many pylons do you think it was? If you had to guess.
The I don't know. I definitely. This is not a shameless plug of. I had I made a reel, like just a bunch of stupid video clips, and that's one of the clips. So it
Okay, I'm gonna look
is.
at it.
It's on my Instagram, and I'm sure you could count them, but I would say it's 100, maybe at
Oh,
least.
that's awesome. My computer background right now is like a giant stack of pylons that I saw in Edmonton. Actually,
Was it at Hawrelak Park?
I have no idea. It was at some intersection.
Hawrelak Park is kind of like a destination. Like you would have to go out of your way to get
Okay,
there. So if you were there, you would know.
is that where you saw yours?
Yeah, we were just there randomly walking the dog, and they're doing a bunch of renovations on the park. So it must have been all the pylons from the entire park were in a pile, and it was very cool. But now I'm desensitized until I see a bigger pile. I'm not gonna be impressed.
I feel like for me, like they, I, I sounds, I don't know. I'm so like it's such an obsession, but to me, I feel like they do such different things when they're in like a massive stack versus like there's three of them, or the difference between one pylon and four is like I love that. You know, I feel I have so many photos of them on my phone.
Is there like what's your like? Do you have any other obsessions beyond that? Like, is there anything else that you like see in the same sort of vein?
I got really into like probably the year prior to or after, I don't know, to this fixation was like I was super interested in hammers as an object. And then when I was in school, like one that I was really interested in was like like shower loofahs, like those really colorful ones. So I feel like it cycles through things, but this one is the one that has really stuck. Like I can't get away from it.
Do you like do you have your own collection of pylons because they are so easily like snatched off the street, or do you just look, take photos and move on, or do you ever like take any home with you?
I don't have a collection because it's just like I have so much bullshit in my studio anyways. Like that's the nature of doing sculpture is just like collecting shit. But I will like take them sometimes. And I don't necessarily know how to describe where that decision is, like when I decide this is the one that I need, but just sometimes. It's also like I think something that I find interesting, I guess, is like it's such a legal gray area. Like it's not like stealing a traffic cone, it's not strictly illegal, I feel like, a lot of the time because you're going to take it to wherever and then it's going to go back onto the street. And there's like people don't really like there's not an ownership of those objects like there is other things. And so to me it's like this like there's like a type of hijinks there. Like it's like mischievous, but it's not Like, I'd be really surprised if I got, unless I'm trespassing on a construction site, like, I'd be really surprised if I got stopped by, like, a cop or anyone to be like, why are you taking that? You know?
I constantly wonder when I see like huge amounts of cones like on the street or in a public area that isn't like a like a construction site or something like behind a fence. I always wonder who owns all these, and is there like do they know that there's 54 cones here and they all need to be accounted for?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it seems like these things are just made and put out into the world and they just show up around potholes. They just like show up. To me, like they just exist and then they get spread around things that need to be barricaded. But to me, it seems like there's no real ownership and there would be no inventory log anywhere. I'm sure I'm totally wrong, and someone from
Yeah.
the city is listening and thinking like it's actually my job to know how many pylons are out there.
Dream job.
Yeah, that would be ideal. That would be very cool to be like a city's pylon coordinator.
The pylon guy.
But I understand like loofahs look cool. Like you can assume why someone would be interested in those. But if you don't mind me asking, what's with the hammers?
Uh, yeah, that I don't mind you asking. It's a good question. I feel like a get like how do I say this in a way that makes sense? I became interested in hammers. That's the funniest sentence ever. Um, because they are an object, they're such a ubiquitous object. Everyone knows what a hammer is. Like everyone. You could ask a 4-year-old and they know what a hammer is. I think that's the first thing. It's also an object that has a very specific function. Like it's to hit nails specifically, and then like claw hammers, it also has like the claw to pull nails out. But that function can be performed by so many other things that aren't designed for that. So like we have this very specific and specialized, I'm thinking about like a claw hammer specifically right now. Like we have a very specific and designed object for this purpose, but like I can also hit a nail into the wall with like the end of a U-lock or like a shoe if it's drywall. Like there's so many other objects that can perform the same function, but we have like a dedicated thing to do that one purpose. And that to me is like what's interesting about it.
I was wondering. I mean, I don't at all want to tell someone why they might like something, but I feel like everyone has a hammer. Like you could ask anyone and they would have one, either whether it's for like setting an IKEA shelf or whether they're like a tradesperson. I feel like I'm the least handy person to ever exist, and I think I have multiple hammers in
Yeah,
my closet.
it's like the tool. Like if it's like Family Feud style, like name a tool, people are gonna be like hammer.
And are you working on anything like involving hammers? Like, are you planning a show around them in the future, or is this just kind of a personal like fixation?
I think that I have done like work using them before, and I think that it's something I'll revisit. I've been like when I don't know what to make or like what I'm doing, I've been carving like spirals into the handles of hammers. I say it like I've done a bunch, like I'm doing my second one right now. Um, and that has been a good, like, it's just kind of like a meditative action. So my mind can think about other stuff. But I definitely think it's something that I'll go back to.
Do you think at all like these things again? Like, I I don't want to tell an artist how to feel about what they make,
Yeah.
but it's just because like Alberta is such a blue collar place that like all this work related stuff is so prevalent. Like I guess pylons are everywhere, so are hammers, but it seems
Mhm.
like we have so much construction in
Mm,
public everywhere 12 months a year. Like, do you think that even subconsciously is why these things like why you relate so much to them?
totally. And I think that in my work, I'm like this idea of labor is really important, and I think that labor is a place like a concept, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. Like somewhere where like uh gender divisions manifest in a very interesting way. And I think that that to me is like why maybe some of these objects are interesting, and like thinking about visible versus invisible labor and how those things differ like across like the spectrum of gender, if that makes sense.
Yes. It does like the idea makes sense. I'm not smart enough to fully have that make sense to me, but I absolutely understand how a smarter person would really absorb that.
Or like I guess another way to put it is like even just thinking about the art world. Like when I went to school, like there almost I would say 90% of the student body is like women or not men. And then I enter the workforce as an artist and like working arts jobs. And I would say over 50% of professional artists are men. And that I think has a correlation like to these to the objects because the objects are talking about work.
Okay, all right. Now it's making a little bit more sense, but still.
Okay, okay. That's
No,
fair.
no, I mean that's great, and I'm sure plenty of smarter people than me are tuned in. So of course, everyone is gonna get it. I somewhat understand, fully respect. I just admit that maybe not the galaxy brain the average listener would have, but still.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty nebulous with it. So,
No, it's incredible. I'm here. I'm sort of asking you to explain all your art, and I was asking about the artist talk, and clearly you enjoy it or find joy in speaking, which a lot of artists don't. So you're very lucky to be in that position. But how do you feel about actually explaining the art as I'm kind of forcing you to explain the art? Like, do you like letting people in on why you like these things, or would you rather keep that closer to the chest?
I like I'm down to share with whoever's down to listen. I think that I'm so close to my own work and like so close to the I guess research that I do that it's sometimes difficult to articulate in a way that makes sense to people. And so that's like the challenge of like a format like this or like an artist talk. It's like, how do I distill these ideas that are like pulling from so many places into like a into language that people can understand? And I think that like a lot of the time the point of artwork in general, I guess, is to like articulate ideas that can't be described in words. And so then to have to like reverse engineer that and re-explain them in words can be really challenging.
You're extremely good at it. I would say, like you've really painted like such a good picture for me in a very concise explanation. So if you ever think that is difficult or maybe it's not coming across how you would like, I would disagree wholeheartedly and say this is maybe the most concise explanation of someone's art I've ever heard, really. It's incredible.
That's awesome. I don't know. I don't know if that's always like first of all, thank you. That's a really nice compliment. I also don't know if that's always a good thing. Like I feel like something I struggle with is being quite pragmatic or like literal, and that I think comes through in the things that I make, and it's not like a very like poetically artistic way to look at artwork. Like I think a lot of artists have like this really like poetic way of looking at the world, and that comes through in their work, and I just don't think that's in my art or the way that I look at art, which I think is like a strength and a weakness maybe.
Yeah, I would agree. Pros and cons for
Mhm.
sure. Did
Yeah.
you have you like improved on your explaining things like in the time that you went through school and graduated? Like, was it even harder to articulate like 5, 10 years ago?
Oh yeah. I feel like a lot of and people have their like qualms about this, but at like uh ACAD or AU Arts, um, I think a lot of what the degree is there is learning to speak about art. Like there's not necessarily a huge emphasis on the technical side, which I think is like a drawback of the program. But like a lot of the degree is like how are we looking at art? How are we describing it? Um how are we speaking about art, and how do you do that like in a way that does justice to the work or like inquires it into it in an interesting way. And so I feel like that this is it's like a learned skill for sure. Like I don't think anyone just knows how to talk about art beyond like, hey, I like the colors on that painting. you know.
Yeah, I guess it would be quite impressive if someone like from the get-go knew how to articulate like all the
Yeah.
rules and regulations behind art. And if they did, it would gonna be less fun to be involved in it for so long if you got it right the first time.
Yeah. And like to go back to your question before, like do I like to share my process or my ideas, or do like I want to keep that close to the chest? Like I think there is value in like maybe not sharing all of those things, because like work like loses something when you know, or like when you have it explained to you. Like I don't want to look at a sculpture and have someone tell me what it means. I want to like look at it and decide for myself. So sometimes like the descriptions can take away from work for sure.
That Gunaware really, I love artist talks because, if someone was to come across your like media or website or even like see some of your stuff just in passing, they can just make their own assumptions and they don't have you explaining the thought behind it. But then if they make the effort to come to the show, they're
Hmm.
privy to that info, but it's not really handed out to everyone. So you're kind of like balancing between being elusive a bit and explaining it to the right crowd at the same time.
Yeah, totally. Like deciding what parts of the work get to be like just for me versus like what everyone gets to understand about it.
And most artists I talk to, there are some things that they make that they explain, or they've had like an artist talk to with one body of work, but other things and other obsessions and mediums that they're working on aren't explained. So there is still that like juxtapositioning of some being like quiet and mysterious, some being explained.
Yeah, and I feel like oh, I also just lost my train of thought. I feel like oh shit, I totally just lost my train of thought too.
It happens.
You're not the only one it happens to.
Uh,
We'll start talking about something else and I'll remember it. But whatever.
Yeah, that's always how it goes. I'm trying to think of where I can go from here.
What was your artist talk? Like, were you talking about your photo work?
Yeah, it's funny actually. I guess this does sort of uh, kind of cohesively work, but I just had a show where I had to kind of address the crowd for a bit, but I'm so like I don't know really enough about art to actually explain it, but also I don't love public speaking. It's
Mm,
funny, like this is no one is seeing this right now, so this isn't really public speaking. Like you and I are essentially having a phone call. But when I
yeah.
have to get in front of people, I don't love it. And all I said about my photos is that I took these photos because I was curious to see how the film looked when it was developed. That was like really all I had to say
Yeah.
about my photos, and then I answered a couple of questions, and that's easier when it's like a conversation that's kind of two-sided. So like I have given an artist talk, I guess, but it's very short, very concise, very uninformative, and kind of like shy.
Right. I mean, it's hard. Like, it is way easier to talk about things in a conversation. Like, it's so tough to like just stand up and monologue. Like, and then you have somebody asking you questions to like guide that conversation, as opposed to just like, well, I guess we'll follow my train of thought for an hour. you know?
Yeah, if I ever had to do these like scripted, and it would be like pretty hard, but I think because it's just like me talking to someone and they listen to what I'm saying and answer, and then it goes the other way, that makes it so much easier. And I think that's the only way really that these type of talks like work. For me, I think if it was more structured and if I like knew what I had to talk about and there were certain things that people wanted to hear about that got addressed, it would be like it would go off the rails way quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've asked so many people this, but I'm gonna repeat it to you. Do you think it's hard or harder to be an artist in Alberta? Like we're talking a bit about, the issues between like DIY and corporate galleries and not, having some stuff to go to, but not a ton. Do you feel personally it was harder, or it will be harder to like show work and sustain a career as an artist, like living in Alberta?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know because I have no frame of reference. Like, I've never been an artist anywhere else. So I think that, like, with the way the current government looks and like that outlook towards art or the the world, that's like a could is like a maybe a scary prospect for creative people in Alberta. But I don't know. Like, I feel like it's tough anywhere. I feel like it's not like a. I don't know. I don't know if it's harder or maybe not as difficult. Like, I think there's like, especially in Calgary, because that's like what I know. Like, there's a good community, and I think that makes being an artist easier. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
That's I mean, I really like that answer. It's like half optimistic, half pessimistic, but a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of people kind of like, no one's wrong or right for this, but I feel a lot of artists might feel sorry for themselves in a way that like they'll answer it is inherently harder to do anything artistic out of Alberta just because the government, a whole bunch, there's so much stuff that people are against, but to hear you say it's probably an uphill battle everywhere is like, yeah, half pessimistic, but also half like kind of inspiring and optimistic.
yeah, yeah. I don't. I like. I think there are like so like how do I phrase this? Like structural barriers to being an artist in Alberta for sure. but I think that those are also everywhere. Like it's not necessarily an easy thing to pursue, like in terms of like making a living.
Yeah, I guess if it was really easy anywhere, probably all artists in the world would move to that place.
Yeah, yeah,
I actually I did think of another question, completely random, but as an artist, do you see in the future is it going to be difficult for galleries and stuff to promote your media having such a wild screen name?
like my Instagram name.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I've also had other people ask me this question, like, "Oh, what if they want to like tag you in a project?" I'm just like, dude, fucking. I mean, and maybe I'll change it. If it does become like a huge barrier, but I think it's kind of awesome, so I don't want to.
Yeah, no, I think it's incredible. I think when we first started talking about doing this was I think when I did an episode with Jamie and then you commented. Immediately I thought, I don't know anything about this person. I hadn't even opened your account, but I was like, this is such a good name. Like it is so it could be polarizing. I think you should never change it. I think you should just force galleries to
Yeah.
promote that name.
Well, I feel like it's kind of a litmus test too. Like it's so to me, like it seems so uptight for that to cause any issues for me, like because it has the word fuck in it. Like who cares? You know what I mean? I feel like the job of artists is to push boundaries, you know, and I'm doing that by having fuck in my Instagram name.
Is there, I mean, this is such a stupid question, but is there any logic to the name, or is that just what you thought of when you made an account?
No, it was actually. Did you ever have the or see the app Beer Buddy? I feel like it was like just maybe after COVID era, like when it kind of became a thing.
No. Oh, I'm just thinking of the app when you could drink a beer.
Oh no, that one's awesome. But no, it was like it was so fried. It was just this app that was basically like you log the drinks that you have and you can like put a like it has a little map, like a location. So it just became like a way to like meet up with your friends that are have it's like instead of like being like, hey, do you want to hang out? It was like, oh, I see my friend is like in Lindsay Park having a beer. Like I'm gonna roll up. So stupid. But it was like it was one of our friends' usernames on Beer Buddy. And I was like, I'm taking that. That's mine now. So I can't even claim it necessarily. Like it's my username, but I stole it.
I've never heard of that app. Maybe it was a Calgary
Maybe we
thing.
had like got to a point where we're like, dude, this is like not good. Like this is such an enabling thing. Like I'm gonna log the beers I drink each day. Like it was just so like serve money COVID summer, you know?
Yeah, and like in that context, it makes total sense. But now thinking about it, it is kind of weird to like let everyone know what you're drinking and where.
Yeah, it was like yeah, it got to a point where like this is actually maybe just promoting alcoholism.
Which I mean, Alberta loves to do, so it makes sense.
That is true. That's very true.
That's funny. Yeah, I totally would have forgot to ask about that, and I like the whole. Is it hard to be an artist in Alberta? And I feel, is it hard to be an artist with fuck in your username?
Yeah, I also feel like for me, like I do think for artists, Instagram is an important tool. Like, and you kind of, it's like a networking tool, I guess. Like, that's primarily how I promoted my show. Like, I don't really know necessarily a better avenue to reach people, but I also try to approach it as like, this is not me marketing myself as an artist. This is just like this is a an app where people post funny photos with their friends. It's like I use it as a tool to like reach an audience, or like I learn about artists through Instagram, or like this is how I promote myself to some degree. But I'm also like, I try to not think about it as like a marketing tool. Like, this is how I'm going to establish a career. You know what I mean? Like, though that's made through different types of connections, real life mainly.
Yeah, I like I have a lot of friends and people I see are amazing artists, and they kind of use it just as like to supplement that. Like they've built being an artist on its own, but then they can like tell people to come to the show through that avenue. Like that is the best way to do it. But yeah, it's weird when people like let that define their art. Like I'm
Totally,
only an artist because it exists on Instagram. I
totally.
don't love that, but I love people being like, we're an artist and we're having a show, and
Hmm.
people are gonna see the flyer through this app.
Totally. And that's like when I did my show, I went and put posters up because I was like, this is, and I feel like it's so, I mean, I also don't have anything to compare it to necessarily, but it's not like everyone, there's not like a centralized way to disseminate information. Like, it's not like everyone watches cable TV or everyone's listening to the radio like maybe people were doing like 30, 40 years ago. So it's like, how do I communicate this to like a wide range of people that's like not Instagram? It's like I'll put posters on the street, I'll post it on Instagram, like I'll tell my friends about it, like word of mouth, I guess. Maybe I'm answering my own question, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like I mean, it's kind of forced on us. I agree. It's the best and maybe the only place to have like an invite like that spread. But I don't think it's ideal. But it's weird to not be ideal yet be the best place for it. I
totally.
think the best place probably means ideal, but I would still say it's not ideal, but it is the place. Is that like most shows and stuff happening on Calgary? Is that kind of the way everyone finds out about them? Is either like flyering in person or Instagram?
I don't know. I would, for me, probably like that's probably the way I find out about stuff. Like obviously word of mouth, like everyone's chatting with each other, but honestly, yeah, there are like some places have like newsletters and stuff, but yeah, I would, for me, that's probably the way that I find out about shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think for young or youngish people, that is sort of the main
Yeah,
place. And I always like I go back and forth. I romanticize like, what if I just add none of this? Like, what would happen? And then
yeah,
I think like, well, probably what would happen is no one would listen to this show.
yeah, yeah. I know. I feel like it's so easy to be like, what would it be like without social media, whatever. But at the same time, like we could just delete it. Like if it's that important to like understand what happens, like you can just delete the app. But at the same time, like I like it. I like scrolling reels. So
Yeah, yeah, of course. I complain for sure most of the time, but then if I'm like waiting for, I'm in the car, Sarah's like running into a store. Of course,
yeah,
like what would I do without reels?
yeah, yeah. You start bringing like a book of crosswords around or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess same thing. Like if you don't like it, you could delete it. I could read a book, but
But
I'm
at the same time, it's like it doesn't necessarily work that way because it's a platform that like a lot of people use, and that's like for artists too. Like that's how people communicate. So it's like could delete it, but I don't know if I'm like do if that's gonna help me beyond like reducing the screen time and all that good shit.
lately I've noticed I got one of those brick devices and I've been like bricked out of media, and then when I go back on, I didn't miss anything. And it's so like depressing and defeatist to think like I need this, like we all need Instagram, and then I'll stay off it for a day and a half and go back to like one comment, probably
Yeah,
from a bot or
yeah,
something. And
yeah. It's like, oh, I actually didn't need to be checking this every hour,
but I
but I
still
do.
will. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, we're over, or not very over, but we're at like the ideal time for an episode, which barely ever happens. I usually talk too long with people and get, I mean, not to hate any past guests, but I get
Yeah.
way less concise conversations than a
Mm.
lot of people. I really enjoyed this. I definitely am stealing some of your thesis on pylons. I will never unhear what I've heard, but yeah, I would have forgot to. Before we hop off, please take a minute to let anyone listening know where they can find you or your art, whatever you want to promote. The mic is yours. Please go ahead.
Okay. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. Like, I guess look at my Instagram. um, I'll build a website one day, but that's in the future. Um, yeah, my Instagram is holy fuck for fuck's sake 123. That's like where I post my work mostly. Um, so follow that, I guess.
It would have been really funny if we forgot to plug the Instagram.
Yeah,
Like we talked about being kind of an abrasive name and then
and then
didn't
everyone's like,
share
"What
the
is it?"
name. But
Yeah,
that could be marketing in itself,
true,
actually.
true.
Well, thank you very much. I had a very fun time. This is a good start or midday conversation for me. Hopefully you make it. Actually, if you are here, if you make it to Edmonton to the
Yeah.
AGA, Sarah and I live fairly close to the AGA, so let me know. I could always see the show a third time.
Yes, hell yes, that would be awesome.
But beyond that, good luck with everything. I really doubt you need it, but good luck with any future artist talks about hammers or loofahs.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day and the rest of the weekend. And keep in touch, please.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'd love that.
Awesome. Thank you.
I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Cool. Peace.
Okay, bye bye.